All right. Good evening, everybody. So glad that you were able to join us today for a discussion on what's love got to do with it. So, as you saw from the title, in my opinion, love has everything to do with it. So, I disagree with Tina Turner when she said it's just a secondhand emotion. In actuality, love is a command by God, and it's also modeled by God. Matter of fact, it's his very existence. Um, the Bible says that God is love, and if we, the believers, are the bride of Christ, then we recognize what love looks like through his example. And so when you ask me what love has to do with it, my answer every time is going to be everything. I think the problem that we have is that we don't really know what love is. We think that love is just a feeling. We think that if I don't feel the love, or if I've fallen quote unquote out of love, then then there's no more love there. But love is more than a feeling. So, for example, tell me, um, have you ever felt what you thought was love for somebody, and then you later found out that it wasn't actually love? Your feelings had you fully convinced that you love that person, that they love you, but feelings are fickle. Love, real love, is not fickle. Love is consistent. And so we have to redefine how we see, or change our perspective on how we see love. The Bible clearly warns us that when we love somebody, we're supposed to be patient with them. We will have to endure. We are commanded to be kind, even when we don't feel like being kind. And you can't be selfish. You can't hold grudges. And so there are so many other instructions that directly oppose how we quote unquote feel. Um, Also, love is not sex. Although in relationships it can be an expression of love. You, as married couples, this is what's supposed to happen in your relationship, but in and of itself, sex is not love. And so another question to ponder is, have you ever had sex with somebody that you did not love, or somebody that was not your current spouse, somebody sent by God whom you love? If that's the case, then you know firsthand that sex and love are not the same. Now, I'm sure there will be some men that might argue because that's how they feel and express love. But as I said, it is just that, an expression of love. Also, love does not cause you to respond in ways to your spouse. Um, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Love does cause you to respond in ways to your spouse that don't feel natural. And that's because love from God is spiritual, and it often challenges and is challenged by our flesh. That's why it takes God to make good relationships last. Love is spiritual. Also, as you grow in God, you should be growing in love. And when you have the heart of Christ, you feel like Christ. You feel compassion. You feel forgiveness. You'll serve just as Christ does. But just because you're saved does not mean that you will always exhibit the heart of Christ, because it's a daily conviction. Sometimes we let our flesh win. Sometimes we let God in us win. But it's our choice ultimately. Who am I going to allow to run my day to day? Am I going to allow my selfish desires, my flesh, and all of that rule? Or am I going to be led by God? Am I going to be forgiving? Am I going to be long suffering? Am I going to be patient? Am I going to be kind? Am I going to do all the things that God has commanded me to do in order to love this other human being? So it's a choice. And like I said, just because you're saved, or just because you're a believer, or you consider yourself a good person, just because you have all of that going on does not mean you're going to always feel like loving. And sometimes you're just not going to, you're not going to do what you know you should do. But one thing love is not, though, is gullible. Love, like I said, is a choice, but it's not a choice made based on naivety. It's based on a choice to assume positive intent, and it's based on you having faith in the future with the person that you're choosing to love, or you just have a desire to please God with your behavior because He commands us to treat others well regardless. And so at the end of the day, it goes back to love is a choice. And again, it is not, you don't love people because you're just dumb or you don't know any better. You're not loving people because you're gullible. You're loving people because you choose to give of yourself um, in a way that you know could cost you. It's an investment, so to speak. Um, it is not to be taken advantage of. It's not to be taken for granted. It's a very expensive gift because, truthfully, if we're talking about relationships between a man and a woman, husband and wife, whatever, um, that love should only be shared with that one person. And there are different types of love. There's agape love. There's uh, filial, I think it's filial love. There's erotic love. There's all kinds of different types of love, but the love that you have between your spouse, there should only be that one connection. And because there's that one connection, that's what makes it so expensive. There's nobody else in the world that should get that side of you the way your significant other gets that side of you. And that is why betrayal hurts so bad, because I have given you an expensive gift, and if you squander it away, then that's painful. That's hurtful. That tells me that you don't recognize the value of this gift that I'm giving you. Love knows that when it knows what you're capable of, but it shares its vulnerability anyway. And it's hoping that you'll handle it with care. Um, a lot of times in relationships, our significant others know some things about us that nobody else in the world knows about us because it's a vulnerable spot for us. And it's a spot that we don't expose to everybody because we don't trust everybody to handle it, again, with care. Um, Love also embraces your humanity while encouraging you to do better. If we look at the example of Christ being the groom and the church being the bride, God came to save us while we were, Jesus came to save us while we were yet in our sin. However, he told us to uphold the standards of holiness. He told us to uphold righteousness. He told us to uphold these things because he wanted us to do better. He was encouraging us to do better even while we were yet in our sin. That doesn't mean you just that's not the same as take the person as they are. Yes, we want to give people the space to grow and to be their authentic selves. However, we can encourage people with love. We can hold people accountable with love. And I can still show you that I value you and I love you and still bring correction and still bring accountability, because I'm really just trying to help you to represent as the best version of yourself. Now, if my idea of the best version of you doesn't align with who you really are, then it's not really going to work. But what I'm supposed to be doing is cultivating that which is in you already. I'm supposed to be encouraging those seeds to grow where God has already planted those things in you. I'm not supposed to create you into a whole different person. So again, love embraces your humanity while encouraging you to do better. Another thing love is purposeful. Um, a lot of people get in relationships because they feel like, okay, I love this person, I care about this person, they treat me well, they treat my kids well, or they treat my family well, they take good care of me, they listen to me, they do this, they do that. But is your love purposeful? Do you have a common goal? And this is not necessarily manifested in riches. It can be the goal of leaving a legacy for your children. It can be mentoring other couples. It could be financial wellness. Whatever your purpose is within your marriage can be the adhesive for your relationship. It's the thing that you two collectively are working towards. And it can help you overcome some things that seem to be areas of contention in your relationship. When you have a common goal and you focus on that common goal, it's a lot easier to run the race together. We always use the analogy of the teammate when it comes to relationships. But if I'm on an opposing team, my goal is not the same as your goal. My goal, if my team is opposing your team, my goal is to stop you from winning. My goal is to score for my team. And so in relationships, we need to be on the same team with the same goal, that we win for the sake of the team. That's our shared goal. And again, there's purpose in that. Whatever you and your significant other come together and conclude is the reason that God has brought you two together, that is your purpose. That is what you work towards. That is what you cling to when you don't always feel the love. Love is about you. A lot of people say love is not about you, but love is about you, but not in the way that you might think. Love is about you in regards to your growth and in your witness. I don't know about y'all, but I have been in relationships even before my relationship with my husband. I've been in relationships where God used the relationship to expose me to me, and kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because sometimes you don't realize things about yourself until you interact with other people. But it's shown most in those love relationships, because in those love relationships, like I said, like my current relationship with my husband, there are, again, those areas that nobody else in the world has ever seen or is going to see, that he gets to see and that I get to see about him. And so, being that we're uniquely put in that position, we are the ground that cultivates each other. We are the things that the environment, our relationship is the environment that allows for good things to grow. But it's all in what you plant, because that environment can also be a place where you allow weeds. You allow yourself to become bitter. You allow yourself to be, vengeful. You allow yourself to be sneaky, or it is whatever you make it. If you plant weeds, you're gonna get weeds. If you plant flowers and fruit, you're gonna get flowers and fruit. It's all about what you plant and what you cultivate. And so, again, love is about you, but it's in regards to your growth and in regards to your witness. So in your witness, people are watching the way you treat each other, whether that be your kids who are in the home with you, whether that be your parents who see y'all when y'all come to family gatherings, whether it be people at your church when you go and fellowship with other people, they see how you treat each other, how you talk to each other, how you serve each other or lack thereof. They see that. People are watching, because the whole world, even if you're not putting anything on Facebook or Instagram or anything, any of the social media, even if you're not putting stuff out there on display, your life in and of itself is display. When you go in the grocery store, if you walk in 10 steps ahead of your spouse and your spouse is in the back pushing a buggy full of groceries, and you're yelling, telling them to hurry up or whatever, people are going to see that. Your life is on display, regardless as to whether you think you have volunteered to put it out there or not. People are watching you. And, you might think, well, I don't go anywhere with my spouse. They see that too. If they see that you're married and they see that y'all are never together, that says something, just like seeing you together says something. So, make sure that your witness, your witness through your love, is one that you would be proud of, is one that you feel like would inspire others. But Now, that's not to say that you're going to fake it, but that is to say that what you are watering in your own garden, what you are cultivating within your relationship will manifest in a way that is fragrant to others, that is nourishing to others, that is edifying and uplifting to others. Now, I'm not going to kid or even act like I don't know that some things can happen while you're out in public and it irritates you or it annoys you or angers you or whatever. And the first thing you want to do is like, let's settle this right here, right now. You want to act a fool in public? I'm gonna show you in public. Sometimes, sometimes we take that attitude, but in reality, love covers a multitude of sins, and that does not mean that I accept your mistreatment as this is just what it's gonna be. That just means that, okay, I see that there's an issue. You may or may not see that there's an issue, but we're going to talk about it within the privacy of our home or with a trusted individual who is objective, but also truthful. And so you still need to address whatever it is that bothered you, but you don't need to do it in a way that disrespects your spouse and gives the devil room to come in and cause discord or to bring temptation or anything like that. So address it, but there's a time and a place for everything. You address it within the privacy of your home or with a trusted individual that can serve as a mediator for your relationship. Sometimes we make something bigger than it has to be, and in those cases you may mention it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a discussion. It was just like, hey, when we were at the store and you said this about me, it kind of made me feel a certain type of way, but I know that's not how you probably intended. I just want to let you know how it made me feel. Okay, we don't have to go into a lengthy dialogue about that. I'm just acknowledging that there wasn't a offense there, and I've already forgiven you. I just want you to know so that maybe you can take notes of that behavior and maybe, try to improve. Everything doesn't have to be a discussion, but communication in and of itself is key. Communication doesn't have to be an hour-long conversation every day of the week. Sometimes communication is just, like I said, just that quick letting you know. Sometimes it's nonverbal. But again, you have to be careful because everything that you're doing and everything you're saying is being witnessed by other people, is being watched by other people. And so we have to be mindful of that, and especially, like I said, for those who have kids, your kids are watching how you treat your spouse, and it shapes the way that they treat you as their parent. It shapes the way that they treat their siblings. It shapes the way that they treat other people at school or wherever they are. And just think about it. If a wife is always putting the husband down and she does this in front of the kids are not going to have the respect for that father that they probably should. They may empathize with him. They may, all of that. But at the end of the day, they're not going to see him as the authoritative figure that he should be to them as their father. And vice versa with the mother. If a man is always demeaning the woman, same thing. The children are going to see how you treat your spouse and they're going to act accordingly. And if you don't present to your children as a united front, they may use that as a manipulation tool. So you have to make sure that your kids see you on a united front and that you consult with each other when you have questions about things, because again, even if it's not necessarily malicious intent, but it's an intent to get what they want, people can try to pit you against each other. Like I said, including your kids, can pit you against each other to get what they want. And you need to make sure that your relationship is airtight. That does not mean you're going to agree on everything, but that does mean that you present as a united front. And when you come before people, they understand that there's no getting into this. Okay. How can you show love in or how can you show the love of Christ in your marriage? people have a tendency to treat other people better than they do their own spouses. And that's not of God. You've heard of, ministers, and they're abusing their spouse at home, but then they come to the church and they serve and they do this and they preach and they teach, and you know that is not of God, and that is not a reflection of God. Your family is your first ministry, as they say. I saw a quote by somebody. I'll say it's an anonymous author because I don't know who wrote it, but they said, "May the kindness you show to others be a reflection of the love you have for your family." So I shouldn't be loving on other people harder than I love on my family. And I feel that strongly because, again, whatever you're doing in your home is going to be reflected outside. And eventually, all this love that you're showing to people on the outside, it's going to eventually start to show some cracks in it if you're not doing that within your own home. You know, family's going to be looking at you sideways if loving on folks when you get to church, but at home you're real cold and withdrawn and all that. They're going to look at you sideways because they feel like that's not the real you, or that you're not being authentic. But also, these are the people that have to deal with you at your worst as well as at your best. These are the people that you're supposed to be making memories with. These are the people who are there for you or should be there for you. And so when you love the people in your home, when you love the person that God has given you as your spouse, and you don't take them for granted, you will see them blossom. You will see them grow. You will see them reciprocate that love for you, if in fact this is the person that God has placed you with. And so knowing all these things that I've said about love, and love having everything to do with it, I wanted to open the floor for any questions, any comments, anything like that before I continue.
Well, Travay, this is my favorite topic. So I love this topic. And of course, I always enjoy your show. So I'm ready to get into it whenever you're on.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate the support and the dialogue. Um, I feel like we have like minds, and when it comes to love and how we're supposed to treat other people. Anybody else have any questions or anything you'd like to say? Right. So I spoke a lot about love as far as it concerns God and Christianity, but I think in the basic essence of things, because I know that everybody that watches this may not be a believer, or they may have a different belief, and I want to acknowledge that. However, the reason why I weave God into everything I talk about is because that's my personal belief, and that is my lifestyle. And so anytime you talk to somebody and that's their lifestyle, that's what they're going to talk about. But I do believe that there are some practical things that I've shared within this discussion that can help anybody. Um, like I said, understanding that you're on the same team. And like I said, loving people within your home before you show love to other people outside of your home. Acknowledging that love is not sex. It is the expression of within a relationship. All those things can be used to teach in a secular realm. But like I said, being who I am and being the lifestyle that I choose to live in my uh, with my conviction, that's where you're gonna get it. Because I feel like everything that I do and everything that I say needs to be backed up by something, because my marriage might not look like your marriage. but there should be some common threads in each relationship. And like I said, those common threads should be respect, they should be trust, they should be friendliness, they should be affection, they should be mutual reciprocity, they should be there should be things that indicate a healthy relationship, regardless of your foundation. I think we can all agree that when there's abuse in a relationship, the relationship is not healthy. We can all agree that when somebody is draining the household of their funds financially, that is not signs of a healthy relationship. We can all agree that if somebody is unfaithful to their partner when they've agreed to just to be in a relationship with each other and not have, you know, people outside of the marriage that they didn't agree on, that's a sign of an unhealthy relationship. So, like I said, we can pinpoint some things that say this is healthy and this is not. But at the end of the day, we really want to make sure that we're showing up as our best selves in our relationship. We're giving this person that we've agreed to be with for life or plan on being with for life, we want to make sure that we're giving them the best version of ourselves, because they in return are giving us, or should be giving us, the best version of themselves. As I said before, love is an expensive gift. It's not to be tossed aside. It's not to be poured out just randomly. It is not to just be mishandled. This is something like, back in the day when I was younger, my grandma had she had plastic on her couches, because you were not about to come into her house and tear up her furniture, because you didn't know how to appreciate the value of this couch that she worked hard to purchase and maintain. You didn't go in her living room with her white carpet with your dirty little shoes on. you know and it's the same way. We should not be handling our relationships in a way that cheapens the relationship. Love is an expensive gift. you know you don't just you don't go and put on your best outfit to work out in the lawn. you know you don't give your child your diamond ring to take to school and show off to their friends. You don't do those kinds of things. Why? Because they're valuable. And we tend to just take love for granted. We tend to treat people and talk to people any kind of way. They irritate us. And it really is because they are so common to us, because we see them every day. We get complacent, we get lax, and we don't value things in the way that we should. We don't value people in the way that we should. We get tired of people. We get irritated with people. We get annoyed with people. We do all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, this is the gift that God has given us to be stewards of, and to cherish, and to love, and to, you know, um, just treat well. And he's holding you responsible for how you treat that person. A lot of people say happy wife, happy life, but in my opinion, it should be happy house, happy spouse, because men deserve love just like women do. They deserve to feel valuable just like women do. Um, I wouldn't say that women aren't the prize, but I would say that men are the prize too. We are each other's prize, you know. And so I think it's important that we break out of that mindset of, well, I'm not going to do that for him because he's a man, or he's just supposed to do this, or he's just supposed to do that. And likewise with the wives, a man whose wife does the cooking and the cleaning and takes care of the kids or whatever, and he might say, well, she's just supposed to do that. No, 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 no. I don't have to do anything. I'm choosing. I'm choosing to be a blessing to you by taking this burden away. Because if you were single, you would have to cook for yourself. If you were single, you would have to clean for yourself. So I'm adding value. I'm an asset to you. I'm adding value to your life. And again, I should be treated as an asset. I should be treated as a gift, as opposed to, and like I said, goes both ways, husbands as well as wives. We should treat each other with such regard you know, and other people will see that regard and they will have to respect what you put forward. Anybody want to add to that? Anybody want to say anything?
Well, I want to say that I was just about to ask you about the difference in the way men and women express love or should express love inside of their marriage or their relationship, the person they engage to, whatever that relationship looks like. How are they supposed to express that love? You did a great job because I've always felt like the prize is the unity, not
Mm-hmm.
the prize. He's not the prize. It's the confluence of ideas coming together that works for the family. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Absolutely. And even to further reiterate the point, um, again, I say it all the time. My marriage is not going to look like your marriage. We have the same, should have similar foundations. We should know what's healthy and what's not healthy, but it may not look the same. What's healthy to me, or not healthy, but what allows my relationship to work fluidly may not work in your relationship. Um, but what's most important is that the two of you, not what your mama said, not what your daddy said, not what your homegirl said, but the two of you decide what works in your relationship. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with that decision. You're the one that has to live with that arrangement. And a lot of people say that they do things on the basis of, religion, or they do it on the basis of this, or they do it on the basis of that. But how many times have we done a real exegesis on the scripture and determined that that's really what it said? Or how many times um, just have we asked God for his Holy Spirit to reveal to us certain things? A lot of times people don't do that. They go by what was passed down to them from Medea and them, and they told them that this is what a wife is supposed to do, or this is what a husband is supposed to do, and it just doesn't work for you. It may have worked for them. They may have had a successful relationship where, he does all the work and then she just gets to spend the money. If that worked for you, that's wonderful. And I'm happy for you. Clap it up for you. I am happy for you, but that may not work in my relationship. It may be that I'm better with the money than he is and I handle the finances. It may be. It may be that I make more money. It may be that he does the cooking. It may be that he takes the kids to school or whatever. It doesn't really matter what your roles are, quote unquote. It matters what you decide works well for your family, in your family. And the other part about it though is we can't get so caught up in the roles that we're not willing to do something when we see somebody's tired. You know, I may be the one that is normally the one who does the cooking, but if you see that I am exhausted, I came in from a 12-hour workday or 10-hour workday, and I'm exhausted, and you're still expecting me to cook because that's what I do, that doesn't always show appreciation either. Sometimes you have to step up and you have to provide in the area where there's a need. It may not be what you do on a regular basis, but it may be what's needed in that moment at that time. And that's showing love. And that is how God says that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. And that is to say that there are areas where we may not be strong in, and then God comes in and he, empowers us, or he causes things to happen where we didn't have the strength or we didn't have the capacity to do it. Okay, let that reflect in your marriage. If there's an area where your spouse is struggling with, help them. Again, it may be what they normally do, but if in this instance, in this time, they don't have the capacity to do it, that's where you step in and you fill the gap and you feel the need and you make sure that things are running as smoothly as possible. And there'll be times where you're contributing more than they are, or they're contributing more than you are, but at the end of the day, the ebb and the flow of the relationship, there should be times, or there should be a level of consistency where you're always good because somebody steps up. you know it shouldn't be where one person is always stepping up and the other person is always just benefiting. There should be some give and take, and there should be some flexibility. Like I said, if I'm not able or if I don't have the capacity, there should be some some sensitivity to that. Because you love and you value that person, you don't want them to get burnt out. Or because you love and value that person, you just want to take the load off of them this time. Whatever it is that shows your love, do that. But also be aware of what they feel is an expression of love for them. As I mentioned before, for a lot of men, it may be sex, it may be validation, it may be or acknowledgement, it may be, whatever. If this is what they've expressed to you that shows them appreciation, then that's what you need to do. Not just what you assume would show appreciation, not just what you think you would like, and that would make you feel appreciated. Yes, you can do some of those things, but also make sure that you're covering the things that they say um, shows appreciation to them, something that speaks their quote unquote love language. Um, do the things that make them feel appreciated and loved on a regular basis. We just passed Valentine's Day, but Valentine's Day shouldn't have really been a big difference to what you do on a regular basis, because you should always be showing appreciation for that thing that you are supposed to value so much. You know, um, it's great, when you celebrate these things and you have these holidays, but in reality, uh, again, it shouldn't be so much different from what your regular life looks like. And I understand that things can get expensive, but love doesn't have to cost. You can do little things like run their bath water. You can rub their back. You can have dinner fixed when they come home. You can warm their car up in the morning if you know it's going to be cold outside. You can do little things that don't cost so much money, but that show that you are thinking about that person, that you're concerned about them, and that you want them to have a life of pleasure and happiness and joy with you, because you are showing them that you appreciate them, regardless of what has happened. um, you know and just because y'all get in an argument, you don't hold that over their head. You don't stop doing the things because you're mad at them. You continue to do those things because you're going to come back together. You're going to get back to that feeling of love. You're going to forgive at some point. So don't harbor those feelings and withhold um your good treatment of them just because they made you mad. Your job is not to punish your spouse. Your job is to love your spouse. If you have a problem with them or a problem with something that they did, then you tell them, you address the problem. But that should not change your behavior towards them, as far as the love that you show towards them and the appreciation that you show towards them. So continue doing the things that you've been doing to show love. If and like I said, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's just an expression of something that you know that they would enjoy. That they would appreciate. Do that for them and make sure that they feel comfortable in the relationship, comfortable knowing that nothing and nobody can come between what God has put together. All right. Anybody else have something to say?
You preaching. But I love everything that you shared today. Hold on, because I was writing notes. But I love how you are showing both sides. Like you're saying, you're not leaning just towards the side of the women, but men, which I feel like is an issue, right? Like you were bringing up, Tony, in society where now a lot of the narratives are men are leaning towards their side and all that because it's been one-sided for so long. So having these balanced conversations are needed. So I love how you set the bar. You looked at it from both perspectives. And then another one is sharing that love doesn't have to cost, right? So I don't know when we got to a point of feeling like I have to do all of these things, just like you're saying. Valentine's Day is like, when you talk about capitalism, I can't even imagine how much money like people in restaurants are making, because it's like we wait for these perfect moments to show something that can be integrated and woven into our daily life. So is having the conversation too of showing the different levels how you can show your love that is not measured by how much money you spend or how grandiose something is. That love is just shown in anything because that's your heart, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I love how you did that, that it doesn't have to be, at a high level to say one thing, but that it can be shown in anything. And for us not to measure an amount of love by what somebody does, so to speak, but just knowing that their heart is there regardless.
Mhm. So the key is consistency. Like I said, it doesn't really matter how much you spend or it really matters what speaks to them and whether you're doing it on a regular basis. Because one thing I don't want is I don't want you showing me how much you love me when we come around your family, and then when we get home, you act like you don't know me. That's not consistent. You know, um, you and like I said, you spend money on me on the holidays so you can Facebook stunt, but on a day-to-day basis, you don't you don't acknowledge me, you don't give me anything, you don't buy me my favorite bag of chips, you don't I mean, it could be just that simple, you know, but if you're not consistent with the love that you say that you have for me, then it's hard for me to believe that it's really true. It's hard for me to bank on that or to trust it, and so a lot of times that leads me to guard my heart. It leads me to not love in the best way that I can, because then I'm like, well, they don't really love me anyway. Why would I invest this much into them? But in a healthy relationship, both people are giving, and both people feel appreciated. Both people feel like they can be vulnerable and they can trust their significant other. So it we have to make sure that whatever we're doing it consistently, and not just consistently, day to day, but consistently over the years. If you're not doing as good as you started out doing, you need to be doing better. We shouldn't be getting so comfortable and complacent in our relationships that we no longer our relationship no longer looks like what it did when we first got married, you know. And I understand people say that there's a honeymoon phase and all of this. The honeymoon phase lasts as long as you make it last. Period. Period, boo. Like, it lasts as long as you make the relationship, the honeymoon phase last. Because if whatever you were doing during that honeymoon phase, make sure that you can keep up with that for years to come, because otherwise I might feel like you sold me a lemon. Like, you just tricked me, hoodwinked, bamboozled even. Like, I might feel like you told me and you sold me a pipe dream that you would love me in this way, and then 5 years later your love doesn't look the same or better, you know. So when you give your life to me, and I understand, don't get me wrong, people get tired, but there should be effort. And really, when you're both giving effort, it should really lighten your load. Like, it shouldn't be where I'm always giving to my husband or my wife, and now I'm just exhausted. No, there should be things that they are doing that fill my cup. So both of us are full, you know. And so, like I said, the consistency from day to day, the consistency over the years, that is crucially important to the health of your relationship. And like I said, there are going to be times when the love looks like it's ebbing and flowing. You might not be strong this week. I might not be strong this week. But wherever there is a um, wherever there is lack, the other person needs to fill the gap, and then vice versa. When I'm depleted, I need you to feel it, you know. But what really needs to happen is y'all need to try your best not to get depleted. That's really, if you maintain a certain speed or a certain pace in your relationship, you should both kind of be fed, you know. If you have that consistency that I'm speaking of, you should both pretty much be fed. There shouldn't be a whole lot of times where one person is feeling burnt out all the time. There should be those, just a level of peace. You should be almost on autopilot. You know, accidents may come, rain may come, whatever may come, things may come, but you should return to a place of homeostasis. Like you should you should have this place where you're confident and comfortable in your relationship on a regular basis. It shouldn't be like where our good times are really good, but our bad times are really bad. No, that's not healthy either. That's bipolar. You know, your relationship in that instance is not healthy for you. Just because there are really great times does not mean that your relationship is really great. What's really the determinant of that greatness in your relationship is that you feel safe, um, that you feel loved and appreciated, and that you are able to reciprocate that in some way. All right. Anybody else have anything to say? Y'all know I do this Zoom platform because I like to hear y'all speak and to ask questions and stuff. So that's why I keep asking.
Well, I want to tell you, I want to pass the offering plate. This has been great. You've done an amazing job. So,
Amen. Thank you, Tony, for that. All right, y'all. Well, if we don't have any other comments or questions or anything like that, I'm not gonna belabor the time. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm not gonna belabor the time. I know we all have families and situations. It's the first day of the week, but I did want to, of course, as always, share what God lays on my heart about love and relationships and families. And so I pray that it blessed you. Share with your family, your friends. Thank you so much for those who were able to join. Thank you for those who are able to catch the replay. Like I said, I really just hope that it blesses you because God speaks to me first. He convicts me first. He checks me first. And when he does that, then he releases me to share with other people. So I just pray, like I said, that it blesses you and you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Travaé.
You're welcome. Thank you.
thank you. It's great.
Thank you.